These are hardball sons of bitches, these guys. They really are, you know.
I mean, I'm saying, of course we give them the hard sell, but that doesn't mean to say I don't think that we should be too salesman-like ourselves.
Oh, no.
What do these two men do for a living? They're always traveling, giving speeches, and conferring with executives. Consultants, you say? Government officials? Nope. These men are best-selling authors. This week on Enterprise, the making of a package deal.
I'm Eric Severide. In my time, I've written a few books, but I've never, thank heaven, had to depend on them for my bread and butter. Best-selling authors, however, lead a very different life. They may have to spend almost as much energy selling their books as writing them. With 7 of the 10 largest trade publishers owned by conglomerates, there are few editors ignorant of the bottom line, and few publishers who do not look at their would-be bestsellers as investments. Writers still care passionately about their work, of course, but they have also begun to work up a passion for something called a package deal. That's when a book is only one part of a package that might include a movie based on the book, a television series, perhaps even a comic strip. If they succeed, authors can literally go from rags to riches. Failure, however, can tarnish even the glossiest reputation and jeopardize future package deals. This week, we'll look at 2 established writers who try to hit the jackpot with their latest package deal if they can survive the dizzying pace.
Meet millionaires Max Morgan-Witts and Gordon Thomas, 2 former BBC documentary producers turned authors. They're in the bestseller business. Thomas, a workaholic, a worrier, the hustler of the pair. Morgan-Witts, quiet, diligent, a devoted family man. Together, they've written 7 books which have sold more than 24 million copies in 23 countries. Their latest, The Day the Bubble Burst, is a popular history of the 1929 stock market crash. They're hoping it will be their biggest bestseller yet. Bubble made them $500,000 before a single word was written, mainly because it wasn't conceived here, at Gordon Thomas's idyllic country estate in Ireland, but here in Los Angeles as part of a package deal. At a convention of booksellers, Thomas explains just how the package came to be.
Listen, we'd like to begin by telling you how the bubble grew, because that might be interesting. We came here 2 years ago to this city. We had a couple of pictures going through the studios at the time, and we met with some producers, and they had wonderful ideas for us. And
the ideas range from the story of Mary Jo Kopechne's death at Chappaquiddick to the '29 crash. But which story would find the largest audience?
well, then very quickly NBC stepped into the market, and they said they'll do something that's never been done before. They would test the market for us, and so NBC polled across the states to find out just what people wanted to read, and they came back very quickly with the story of the crash.
Soon after, 2 independent producers worked out a deal with the authors, 20th Century Fox and NBC, to make a TV miniseries and then release it abroad as a feature film. All this based on an as yet unwritten book. Producer Frank Levy explains.
It allows NBC to get a book at a price that is much less than if they waited for it to become a bestseller on the marketplace. For authors, this concept of selling the book directly to television, which is something I've succeeded in the past, is more important to them in what they get from their end as far as publishing. When the publishers know there is a television deal, there is a movie, it's all there, it psychologically does a great deal for them because they can see all their PR and public relations and the money they spend for that going towards something.
Only when the Hollywood deal was struck did Thomas and Morgan-Witts turn to the publishing firm of Hamish Hamilton, which bought the rights to publish the book in Britain and the Commonwealth. In New York, Doubleday advanced still more money for the American rights, and Reader's Digest traded research help for serialization rights. The writer's agent, Jonathan Close, added it all up.
The American initial advance was $250,000. The American film and television, assuming we go through all the stages, which logically we should, was in excess of $100,000. The English advance was for the hardcover about 15,000, and we would expect that they would sub-license the paperback rights to Sphere, who were their own company in effect, for possibly another 20,000.
The authors knew little about their subject when they began this project, but then they're fast learners. What they did know was that they had all the ingredients for a bestseller and miniseries. A spectacular cast of characters swept up by disaster. So, with contracts signed and checks deposited, Thomas and Morgan-Witts returned to Ireland to begin work. First step, research.
Yeah, we looked it over there. Good.
Behind Thomas's house, the old stables have been converted into a writing room, ready for the Reader's Digest material when it arrives from New York.
Bring it over here, Jack, over here.
Typewritten files, tape recordings, clippings, books, old photographs, the events of 1929 disinterred.
Hey, listen to this, Gordon. New York Times, December 31st, 1929. London's troubles in the past year. New York as a disturber. Why do they use funny words?
Yeah,
Disturber.
I know.
Disturber. A perplexing year, it says. Yeah, that's putting it mildly.
Listen to
Ah, look at this. What are your plans for 1930?
Yes?
When you and your associates discuss business plans for 1930 and the questions of a more helpful banking connection comes up, we invite you personally to investigate the facilities of the Equitable Trust Company. But I think they still exist. So we must go easy on them. Do you know that was the building from which that lady jumped and committed suicide?
Right.
The trouble is, if we put too many suicides in the book, I mean, I think that, although there were many, it'd be a great danger. We'd get clobbered. They'd say, well, you know, it's not true, even though that we knew there were some.
Immigration quotas, hey, that's good. Because, you know, the other thing which I found in one of those early research documents that came over, just how many immigrants came into Wall Street.
They landed there in the beginning.
Exactly,
You remember,
that's
right down at the
tremendous.
bottom.
A lot of them didn't go much further.
But this is no time to get comfortable. Instead, it's on the road again for a 2-month whirlwind tour to talk to eyewitnesses and get a feel for some of the international locales that figure prominently in their story. Madrid, Munich, Cape Town, Hong Kong, and the most prominent place of all, Wall Street.
The heck of a building? Well, it's huge. You
Can
see,
you imagine the panic
the
was
top,
in
the
50
top of
years
this,
ago? Yeah.
well, exactly. The floor, you know, it's so high.
Yeah,
the top
4
is up
floors high,
there.
you telling me.
Yeah,
And up there was old
tremendous
Whitney.
panic.
Up there was old Whitney.
I know,
Doing his number.
sitting in the chair that Simmons, the president of the stock exchange, had just vacated because he'd just gone on honeymoon. You remember that story? He'd just gone on honeymoon, leaving Whitney, who turned out to be a
You know,
crook.
I think we got some
Just
real gems.
Well, you remember? I know. But I mean, how can you cap the president of the stock exchange at the time of the Wall Street crash, ending up as a crook and in prison? I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Remember the story I told you? On those steps there, that's where Joe Kennedy arrived, unannounced, uninvited, and as it turned out, unwanted by Jack Morgan. He came to seek an interview with Morgan to discuss the marketplace.
Right,
with him.
right.
And incredible. You stood on those steps,
Those very steps.
those very steps there, and you stop by a doorman and says, "What do you want?" He says, "I want to see Mr. Morgan." He says, "Mr. Morgan never sees anybody at an appointment." Remember what our eyewitness saw it all in there. He was sitting around the corner in that
Right,
window there.
right, right.
And so McVeigh, that's
Yeah.
right. And so Kennedy goes into those doors and waits in his best bib and tucker, and he's thrown out inside a minute, and he never forgave Jack.
No.
Sorry, there's no time to tarry here either. Instead, it's back to Ireland to begin production, better known as writing. Their deadline, only 4 months away. It's all very systematic and efficient, a literary version of the assembly line. They divide up the chapters according to their interests, write them as quickly as they can, then edit each other's work until they're ready to turn it over to the typist. They even make sure to include some material about each country in which the book will be sold. After 7 bestsellers together, they have it down to a science. "18 months after that first meeting in L.A., 9 months before publication date, 4 days ahead of schedule, the manuscript is finished."
6, 3, 7, 8, 9,
marvelous. That's
10, 11.
See?
I got the wine. In Arabic, you said Kuwait, inshallah.
What?
May Allah lives with you forever, you bloody great.
But it's not over yet, by any means. The package still has to be wrapped and brought to market. In Hollywood, Frank Levy.
Just got the book for the weekend, and it's everything we hoped it would be. I just spoke with NBC, and we're both extremely pleased. We had one concern from the very beginning with the project, was that the boys would just seem to cater to the wealthy and to the business people in dealing with the book, and we were worried whether people in Iowa really cared about how the rich lived in 1929, but they found the whole problem in Flint and found a lot of average people, and I think that's going to finally make the picture come to life at the network.
In London, the authors pay a crucial visit to the publishers in Max Morgan-Witts' vintage Rolls-Royce. From Doubleday comes editor Sandy Richardson.
Hello, Sandy. How are you?
Okay.
I finished reading your book, and I just think it is marvelous.
Then it's off to Hamish Hamilton editor Christopher St. Clair Stevenson.
But I can say straight away, to ease the agony which perhaps you've been feeling, it's certainly the best book of yours that I've read.
It really has all the earmarks of one of our major books.
The editors have big plans for Bubble and its authors.
But as far as advertising is concerned, and sales promotion and their tour for Max and Gordon in the United States, which we pay for. That means transportation, hotel, and so on. I would think we'd be thinking in the neighborhood of between $75,000 and $100,000.
We'll be selling this book throughout what is traditionally termed the British Commonwealth market. In other words, the main areas will be Australia, which I think is the most important area. And the authors are very well known in Australia because we sent them on a large tour to Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa when we published their previous book. And they were a very great success.
But the Commonwealth will have to wait as the authors take their 10th transatlantic flight in 2 years. It's a trip to the book world's biggest event, the convention of the American Booksellers Association in Los Angeles.
Who the hell was this who was speaking at noon? I think we're on about 12:30 with this thing. We got 10 minutes, right? Now, these are hard-boiled sons of bitches, these guys. They really are. You know, they've done it all. They've heard everything. This is the last day of the convention, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not only the last day of the convention, but as I understand it, we're the last speakers.
Yeah, right.
Now, that's an honor,
Yeah.
naturally, for us to be the last speakers. But on the other hand, they're going to have been,
Hammered to
they've
death.
had a lot of chaps speaking to them before
I know.
us. So the question of quite how hard we should,
Well, I think the thing is this, we've got to really, we've got to pitch this book. This is, I mean, look what we got coming to us.
Yeah, but these guys are used to the hard sell.
What do we do then? What do we
Well,
do?
I mean, I'm saying, of course we give them the hard sell, but that doesn't mean to say I don't think that we should be too salesman-like ourselves.
Oh, no, we let
I know.
Sandy do that.
Well,
We let the people get up and pitch that.
Or whoever. If I'm going to start, I think I
Right.
should start rather low-key.
If you don't come on and hold them bang, 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 they say, oh, God, who cares? And this is crucial to us because this is where Doubleday will pick up maybe 100,000 orders, basically. This is where they put the whole platform in to sell the book.
No question.
If this doesn't, if we go in and do a soft sell, it's great for England, great for Europe.
Well,
I think as you say, this book's different because, bang, and you tell them why. This book is not just a...
Absolutely, we got to tell them why it's different.
And it's all that.
That's right.
And you hit them hard with the thing.
To talk with, all by myself. No one to walk with, but I'm happy on the shelf. Ain't misbehaving, I'm saving my love for you.
The entire industry is here. Representatives of 1,000 publishing firms trying to convince the representatives of 1,000 bookstores to order their new books. A time for hard sell, soft sell, and everything in between.
Any traveling around the country
Oh,
get together?
We went to
Or
23
section-
countries.
Yeah.
80
It's not just this country.
All
Germany,
over the world.
all over the world.
Yeah.
All over the
It's
world.
a kind of global look at the crash and what happened. I mean, we were able to get stuff in Japan, Lithuania.
I was
Lithuania.
Lithuania, right? Right, right.
You can't believe it.
There
was a Lithuania. Yes.
Last year, the U.S. publishing industry sold more than $6 billion worth of books. We're the largest book factory in the Western world, producing 82 new titles a day. Doubleday alone, with nearly $300 million in book sales, publishes a new title every 12 hours. If you're an author, you have to work hard to stand out in a crowd like this.
He wanted to ask the one man in Wall Street whom he respected, Mr. Jack Morgan, J.P. Morgan, sir to everybody else, but Jack in Joe's mind. Now, he never met Mr. Morgan in his life before. And so, wearing his best grey topper, Mr. Kennedy walked down to the house of Morgan, number 23, the most famous and illustrious house in Wall Street. And he arrives there, he stops by a door. Who says, what do you want, Mr. Kennedy?
And there's always the competition to watch out for. Direct challenges like this, and less obvious ones like this.
Oh, great big book.
I am sure it's a big fat book. How many copies you're running
How
up?
many copies
25,000 copies.
That's good. That's good. Authors touring on promotion?
Yes.
Are they? Oh, well.
Their first book?
Oh, no, this is Son and Daughter of World of Our Fathers. Most famous book,
Oh, really?
I think, on the subject. Yes, this is, it complements that book. This is a documentary history. Letters, pictures, photographs, diaries.
You got an advance?
posters.
You got a copy we can see?
400,
Really?
200
No
illustrations.
copy.
No copy yet?
No copy yet. No, not
You don't have a,
No.
you don't have galleys or
Not yet.
bound galleys.
Not yet.
It's a nice jacket, I must say.
Out of sight, a hurried conference.
Essentially, it's a picture book.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's going to be a good book, let's face it. And but there's room for all of us. There's room for
But
all of us.
I don't think we need to worry about that book. Really.
No, I don't think so, not really. But it
also-
is in our period, but it's a different book altogether.
It's a very ethnic book. You see, ours is
That's
covered.
right.
It'll go to one market,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
The sort of people who scrape attics out market, you know.
That's right.
That's the
That's
thing.
right. But it's
I would work.
photographs.
It's photograph. Oh, nice photographs.
Absolutely.
Decent looking jacket.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be big. 25,000 needn't worry.
It's impressive. It's a powerful
You can never be too wary,
How do you do? I'm Betsy Osher from ABC's new
Too
news
persistent.
program 2020.
Fine.
Hello,
Nice
Betsy.
to meet you.
Very nice to meet you.
or too fond of airplanes. It's the publishing industry's equivalent of war, with its own kind of combat fatigue.
Morning, everybody. This morning I'd like to review our entire marketing plan for the day the bubble bursts because we have Max and Gordon with us. Everything's certainly falling right into place.
Doubleday
Here this
headquarters in
morning's
New
mail.
York.
Day the bubble burst, PW Page. The timing is perfect on this. We've just left ABA where Max and Gordon spoke at our booksellers luncheon for the 150 booksellers, and the title was, of course, featured in our booth. I'd like to start with Reed, if you could bring us up to date on your publicity plans.
Okay, the first thing we have to do with the publicity is get the word out to the book trade, which has already started with the ABA, as Carol mentioned. There are certain columnists in the country who write specifically about unusual events in the book trade, unusual stories behind the book. People like Bob Dylan at Publishers Weekly, Hillary Mills, Washington Star, Tom Lask at the New York Times. As a matter of fact, I think Tom Lask gave us a little write-up the other day in the Daily Times, so it's already started to pay off.
Gisela Moriarty, who handles all the promotion.
In terms of your actual promotional tour in person, Gordon, you'll be doing the northern route, Chicago, Minneapolis, Seattle, and San Francisco. Every author's dream. And Max will be doing the southern route, starting in Boston, but getting it in.
South Boston, actually.
That'll be Boston and Washington, Atlanta, Dallas, Houston, Los Angeles. You'll both end up in Los Angeles for the network shows. And the tour will take place primarily in October.
Andrea Stein, who is our sales promotion manager.
The next step in promotion will be utilizing the basic Doubleday promotion staples. For example, we just did this new titles catalog, and what we've done is a special ad, inside front cover, on the day the bubble burst. Now, this catalog was distributed out at ABA. It's automatically sent to the 5,000 top Doubleday accounts, and we've also sent it to 1,000 top publicity lists.
Well, this is where we are 4 months before pub date, and I think it sounds good. And everything, as I said when we started, is falling into place, and it's a sure bestseller.
My guess is the hardcover sales will be somewhere around 125 to 140,000, which is extraordinary. That means it'll be well up on the bestseller list, towards the top, if not the top.
They may be confident in New York, but in Hollywood, they're getting nervous. While work continues on another Thomas Morgan-Witts package, the film, Enola Gay, Frank Levy worries about the Bubble miniseries.
When we started the deal, the 8- and 10-hour miniseries were very fashionable at NBC. Since Fred Silverman came to power, I think they find those rather not, productive for the network. They rather have 4-hour miniseries, if anything, which is why Enola Gay basically is now 4 hours. I think we'll probably go down to that kind of a schedule when we make it. But certainly, as far as the dates we wanted, it's completely changed. I have, hopes that we'll get going by the end of the year, but again, that's not in my hands.
The strain is showing on everyone now as the promotional tour wears on.
I don't know what I'm going to make it. I think it's nervous energy in my case that keeps me going.
Thank you.
I think it's Max's youthfulness that keeps him going. No, really, seriously, I think we've recognized a long time ago that this job involves many, many facets. There's the research, there's the writing, and this is an essential part of it to the promotion. We really have to go out there and sell it. That's part of the job.
I'm rather like a traveling salesman in a way, to have that sort of life.
We've spent 2 very long years writing and researching this book. Now ahead of us lies a very arduous national tour of America and other countries. And of course this has a tremendous effect on the wear and tear because, in a way, you're constantly on show 24 hours a day. I mean, I'll give you an example of one of the average days ahead of us, probably around October time. We get up at 5:30, we do an early morning breakfast show, that's the first. Before 8 o'clock we've done probably 3 shows. By between 8 and 9 we'll do 2 newspaper interviews, and we'll do another mid-morning television show, and we'll jump on a plane at 11 o'clock and fly maybe 1,000 miles and repeat that. And our days will be 16, 17-hour days.
Three weeks before publication date. With the film project in doubt, it's all up to Doubleday and its critically important advertising campaign for the book. The book is off and running, making the bestseller list by a nose. But then, just 1 week later, to everyone's dismay, it disappears forever. Total hardcover sales, 45,000, only 1/3 of Doubleday's projection. But that doesn't mean the bubble has burst. Hollywood comes to the rescue in the nick of time with a 3-hour version of the miniseries.
We have an airing, let's say, February, March on NBC, and we get the publishers to get the pocketbook out, the paperback, at around the same time, and get their press going for the picture, get the network press, get the Fox press working. I think getting all the stars out to publicize the picture, I think we have a good shot. I think the boys will get close to $1 million on this whole project.
Gentlemen, as acting president of the stock exchange, I put to you, the Board of Governors, the following proposal. I feel, that is, I propose the exchange be closed forthwith.
Max and myself have one rule.
As for the authors, Gordon Thomas suffered a heart attack last year, but has since recovered.
If you know in advance.
Max Morgan-Witts is now, like his partner, a tax exile. He moved from London to the south of France last year. Recently, the authors finished their 9th book together. It's about Legionnaire's disease. And yes, it too is part of a package deal.
This program was presented by WGBH-TV, which is solely responsible for its content.